What's good, YouTube? It's your man Rage King back with another one. Yes, another upload to the channel. And before we get started, actually, y'all, please go down there and hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit that share button, hit that bell for notifications if you're new. Welcome to Rema Rage TV. This is how we do Rage and Rebels. Crown up. And if you're new to the crew, welcome to the Rage and Rebel Revolution. Now let's vibe. And y'all, we got some very unfortunate news concerning the people that will have to soon, myself included, will have to soon participate in the new PlayStation Plus. What am I talking about? Sony will not, I repeat, will not emulate PlayStation 3 games. What do I mean by that? The new PlayStation Plus, the new PlayStation Now, I'm just gonna call it the PlayStation Plus because that's just my own personal opinion to call it. Will not, I repeat, will not allow PlayStation games to be downloaded, only streamed. Now let's speak on it. Now we got an article here. We're gonna read, we're gonna react. That's just how we do, alright? And I'm gonna give my thoughts in the middle, in the meantime, in between time, alright? So without further ado, let's get into it. Sony's major upcoming update to PlayStation Plus consolidates its existing services into three tiers, the two most expensive of which offer players hundreds of games from PlayStation's current and back catalog. As the PlayStation Plus is only backward compatible with the PlayStation 4, these new plans are the only way for players to access PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and PlayStation Portable games on their latest PlayStation systems. Most of those libraries will be directly downloadable, but there is a major outlier. PlayStation 3 games will only be available to stream, as has been the case on PlayStation Now. I think it's bullshit too, but for time's sake, let's keep it moving. This disparity is disappointing, particularly for fans who with poor internet speed, that cannot reliably stream games. Following the lack of PlayStation 3 backward compatibility on the PlayStation 4, the announcement once more raised the question, why won't Sony emulate its 2006 console, which has a fantastic library of games, which is a damn good question, and could there be technical issues preventing them from doing so? To find out, I spoke to the developers of fan-made PlayStation 3 emulators to understand why the unique construction of the PS3 hardware continues to haunt PlayStation. IGN has also reached out to PlayStation for comment on the lack of PS3 downloads for PlayStation Plus, but did not hear back by the time of publishing. I'm sure you didn't. The primary roadblock to proper official PS3 emulation could be that, well, the console was built differently. The PlayStation 3 utilized a unique structure that differed from the relatively simpler Xbox 360 and PC architectures at the time that Sony called Cell. The PS3 console's CPU was comparable to the Xbox 360, running at 3.2 GHz, but Sony aimed to bolster the CPU's capabilities by including 7 floating coprocessors, aka the PS3's Synergistic Processing Units, SPUs, which were infamously complex for developers. Here's a brief rundown of how it worked. The processor's setup allowed the Central Power Processing Element, PPE, to offload complex code to the extra cores. Those SPUs could handle parallel mathematical calculations, which made them perfect for intricate physical simulations like collisions, clothing, and particles. Sony flirted with the concept in the PlayStation 2, but boosted the power in the PS3 with floating a speed that was 40 times faster than its predecessor. As my brother Bearded Beanie Guy would say, the PlayStation 3, in his opinion, was the God game system. And reading that couple paragraphs right there, damn it, I see why. Because I was an Xbox 360 head, I'm not gonna lie. But reading this now and knowing that the PS3 had all that, my ass probably should have went to PS3. But I do not regret my time with Xbox. Never have, never will. Let's continue. Harnessing the PS3's potential back then and in the present day wasn't easy, in large part because the process described above wasn't automatic. Developers had to code this handoff themselves, creating a multi-step process that resulted in a steep learning curve for programming on the PlayStation 3. We're all familiar with the time pressures developers face, and the prevalent problem of crunch that may arise as a symptom of these time pressures. When developing for multiple platforms, developers regularly ignored the complicated SPUs and just used the PPE. When it came time to port Bayonetta to PlayStation 3, Platinum Games producer, I'm gonna screw this name up, so forgive me, y'all, Atsushi Inaba, described to Edge magazine how Platinum handed the project off to an in-house team at Sega. A failure to utilize the SPUs resulted in terrible performance compared to other platforms. Inaba called, at the time, the biggest failure for Platinum so far, the one that really sticks in my mind. A similar story surrounds the problematic PS3 port of the Orange Box, which Valve handed off to EA rather than tackling it themselves. Simply re-engineering games for a completely new system unlike any other was a time and cost prohibitive process, which meant that the cell processor wasn't used to anywhere near its full extent. Well, damn it, if it wasn't used to its full extent, why y'all building PS5s now when y'all should just motherfucking use the system of the PS3 and make that the PS5 and master that, then move on to something else? Whatever, let's continue. Despite sinking millions into cell architecture, the complexity of its SPU hardware contributed in part to a slow start for the PlayStation 3. Add onto that the PS3's much higher retail price and the extra year the Xbox 360 enjoyed ahead of its release, and the PS3's potential wasn't realized until late in its life cycle. That is unfortunate. Sony was aware of the issues its console caused developers, though wasn't especially apologetic about it at that time. "We don't provide the easy-to-program console," CEO Kaz Hirai told Official PlayStation Magazine in 2009. "A lot of people see the negatives of it, but if you flip that around, it means the hardware has more to offer." Some developers weren't shy about criticizing Sony's choices for the PlayStation 3's architecture back then. Gabe Newell spoke to Edge magazine, branded it a waste of everybody's time. Kazunori Yamauchi, creator of Gran Turismo, sorry if I butchered that name, recently told The Gamer that the PS3 was a nightmare and that the hardware was so complex and difficult to develop on. A 2007 doctoral study by Daniel Paolo Scarpazza, Ores Villa, and Fabrizio Petrini supported this, finding that software exploits the cell's potential requires a development effort significantly greater than traditional platforms. 13 years later, the PS3 architecture is still causing headaches. Damn, that's probably why. Y'all still ain't mastered that shit. What the fuck did y'all get? A mother box and put it in a system? What the fuck? Y'all get one of the 3 mother boxes and just make a game system off that shit? There are several unofficial PS3 emulators available today. On one of them, RPC3, 65% of the PS3's catalog is currently playable. I asked its developers about the problems emulating the PS3. One of the RPC3S3's developers, What Cookie, pointed to the PlayStation 3's 128-byte read and write as well as the quirky floating point format that the SPUs support. As the major bottleneck in reaching RPC-S3's stated goal of 100% compatibility, the PlayStation 5 runs on an x86 CPU like most computers. It's one reason the PS5 is backwards compatible with the PS4, another x86 system. Both have cache lines of 64 bytes as opposed to the PS3's 128 bytes per line. And I'm going to go ahead and end the article right there. As I stated before, what the hell were y'all using in the PlayStation 3? What technology were y'all using in the PlayStation 3 to where 13 years later y'all still can't master that shit? And like I said before, I think honestly, y'all should probably use that as the next PS5 instead of just using the PS5 that everybody can get their hands on. You understand what I'm saying? And to end the video on this, I'm going to end the video on this. What was the point of having all of this going on with the new PlayStation Plus, the new PlayStation 5, the new PlayStation Plus, new PlayStation Now, if at the end of the day you weren't going to be able to catalog or you weren't going to be able to download your system's most famous games in its era? Make it make sense. That's my video. Hope y'all enjoy it. See y'all later.